over. It's over. Let's go.
Oh,
Let's
boy.
go. What a day.
What a day to wake up to.
Yep.
I mean, look, it's Eagles trade deadline day. Sixers steal the spotlight as normal.
Just per usual.
Exactly.
So welcome on in. It is an emergency edition of Clap Your Hands. I'm sorry this is not done at 6 in the morning. Would have loved to do it then. Would have loved to do it at
2
7
a.m. Yes. Dude, I'm not going to lie. So I texted you. So first of all, shout out to my friend Chris that texted me and woke me up for the trade. I texted you and I'm like, is this dude alive? Like, it's been like an hour since you responded. Good time to take off. Needless.
Yeah, well, no, so it's Halloween.
Having a kid was supposed to wake you up early.
Well, yeah, but all right. If we want to go all the way back to the beginning of how this all started, Walker somehow was up till like 12 last night because he wouldn't go to sleep. So
naturally, he knew the trade was coming.
He's like a dogs, they can sense when a storm is coming.
Exactly. Yes.
I think Walker was like, man, I feel something.
He's the Woj sensor.
Yeah, he's got the Woj meter. So he was just like a party animal last night. And so he didn't go to bed till late. So he was up and down. We were up till like midnight trying to fit. We're trying to finalize his costume for today. I woke up at 8, like 15 minutes ago. And it's like, literally. Holy crap, James Harden got traded?
I know.
I didn't think this day would ever happen, Elliot. I didn't think he was really going to get traded. I tweeted, we talked about it, to keep James Harden away from this basketball team. It's clear that Daryl Morey finally has some emotional intelligence and finally gets it.
Yeah.
What's your first reaction to the trade?
So, to your point about the timing of it, I think it's a little interesting that yesterday an anonymous quote comes out via Ramona Shelburne talking about how they don't really know if Harden wants to play here and he doesn't know the plays. And now Harden's gone the next day.
Gee, wonder who said that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do the whole source guessing thing, but Ramona's been pretty good with the Embiid camp. So interesting timing on that. So my initial reaction of the trade is this. And first of all, shout out to everybody in the chat. Shout out to everybody listening that has been listening to Clap Your Hands. One thing you will realize about me is I am very willing to change my mind and admit when I was wrong. And look, man, like I was the biggest Harden defender in the city amongst the media members. I thought they could win a title with him. I still believe that. But one thing became very clear in the first 3 games is the star they needed to get with Embiid is Tyrese Maxey. He's the star. He is the number 2, 1A, 1B that Joel Embiid needs. And when that became clear, James Harden was no longer needed on this roster. There was no longer a need to hold out to see if you get a Zach LaVine, to see if, another trade becomes available. So my reaction to the trade is, I think the timing is absolutely perfect. I did not want James Harden playing basketball on Thursday. I want Tyrese Maxey being the dominant ball guard, the main offensive facilitator on this team. That now happens because James Harden's gone. That is the biggest part of this trade. If you are talking about the compensation for this trade, you're missing the point. The point is Tyrese Maxey now can be Tyrese Maxey for this team. So in that way, I love it. The drama's gone. You don't have to worry about Harden coming back and being ball dominant. This is a great trade for Tyrese Maxey. In terms of the compensation they got back, they actually got more back than I thought. I mean, there was lots of talks of them getting 1 pick or maybe a 1 and a 2. They got 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, and a pick swap, plus 4 players. And we'll get into each of them individually. But ultimately, what this trade allowed to have happen is Tyrese Maxey can be Tyrese Maxey. Joel can know what the roster is going to be like around him. They got draft picks for a future trade if they want to make it. And they got a lot of guys that can shoot. All the guys they traded for that are going to play it right away. Covington, Batum, and Marcus Morris all shoot over 30% from 3. And KJ Martin's a nice developmental player. So credit to Daryl Morey. I've questioned him throughout this thing. I've wondered if they should fire him all along. He really was just doing a great job and holding on. So I think that even as a Harden guy, this is a great trade for the Sixers.
Yeah. So my first immediate thing that hit me, my first take was how the bleep did they not get Norman Powell?
That's the first text I got from you, I think. Yeah.
Well, because like that's a Norman Powell trade. I mean, like that's something that Norman Powell should have been a part of. I would have loved him, but I think that this trade puts the Sixers in the finals. I really do. I think this is what we wanted. This is what I wanted. I wanted a bunch of players around Joel Embiid, around Tyrese Maxey that was not going to take the ball out of Tyrese Maxey's hands, that were just a bunch of freaking NBA players. And what they have now is a bunch of NBA players. And like that's what the Clippers also had the last couple of years. I mean, they always went 8-9 deep with competent NBA players. But Kawhi missed a ton of time. Paul George was in and out of the lineup. Joel Embiid and Tyrese Maxey are here. They're here and they're gonna play. I'm so happy. I'm so happy that they finally got Marcus Morris. I have been dying to have Marcus Morris on the Sixers.
How many bets have you placed on Marcus Morris?
Oh, he is. If you're looking at the Mount Rushmore of bets for me, it's always Marcus Morris 3 threes. It's always Marcus Morris 3 threes because it's always pretty good odds and he shoots all the time. And my other big takeaway is that Robert Covington's back. And if you this process had to start and end with Rocco being a part of this team. I don't care. I don't care if he's basically playing like 15 minutes, not playing much anymore. Robert Covington back on the Sixers is all that I really care about anymore. I'm so happy he's back. Rocco, Embiid, this thing finally feels right.
Well, so first, if we're going to blame Spike for Paul Reed, I think we should say that Spike probably made Robert Covington come back, right? Like this is Spike written all over it. But from just a strictly vibes perspective, I mean, this team, it's exactly what they needed. Like, I want Tyrese Maxey to be the face of this team. I want Joel Embiid to be the main guy. Like, I want those two leading the way. And with this, you allow that to happen. Covington is going to come in and be a good role player. Batum can he can shoot.
It's Batum. Can you just say Batum?
I'm sorry, I knew it.
Batum? He's not Batum.
Wooge and Batum. Those are the two key parts here. Batum. I'll just call him Nick. All right. Batum can shoot. Now I got thrown off. They got shooters. Like, they got people to put around these guys that are going to come in. They're going to know their role. They're going to allow basically the team to keep operating as it was. And I'm excited about KJ Martin. Granted, I just learned about him like 20 minutes ago.
And he's expiring.
Well, that's the other part. Good point. All these deals are expiring. They're still going to have all the cap space. So to your point about wanting Powell, and I think he would have been a good addition, he was not expiring beyond this year. And it really makes you wonder if Morey just like has something planned here. Like, if he is this committed to cap space, if he is this committed to not acquiring anything beyond this year, he must have some type of information or insight. Although I know he doesn't like to tamper, as James Harden would tell you.
We would never tamper. No, not this organization.
Exactly, never. By the way, PJ gone. Happy about that.
Yeah. I mean, going from Marcus Morris to PJ is definitely an upgrade, and plus they don't lose like any toughness. Again, no one's gonna want to fight the Sixers. Like, who wants to fight the Sixers?
Well, Pat Bev is the new dog. Yeah, Pat Bev's the new dog. But and Marcus Morris, and Nicholas Batum, as we'll now call him.
Your boy, Nicholas Batum.
Yeah, always been a big Nicholas Batum guy. But you do wonder with Morey not acquiring any salary beyond this year. And by the way, like 2 first-round picks, 2 second-round picks, a pick swap, like he gets a good amount of picks back as well. He must know something. Like, there must be some player he believes he's going to be able to acquire. And so that will happen eventually. I think by day 1 of next year's season, when they're raising a banner and letting us ring the bell since we saved the Sixers. Yep. But when that eventually happens, there will be another star on this team. Like, they're getting another bucket boy. Tyrese Maxey, bucket boy. They're going to acquire a bucket boy. So I think you will see a star on this team. But until then, they have enough to win the finals, man. They do. Like, if Embiid and Maxey can be what their ceiling is, and I think you're so correct about this, they've put players around them that will be able to make the best version of Joel and Maxey. Harden was not going to make that happen anymore. It's just a reality. I had to accept it. Any other people listening to this that liked Harden had to accept it. That was not going to happen.
Hold on, who's that? Who else was listening? That was a huge Harden person.
There has to be one other person. Yeah. Okay. But hey, man, hey. They almost won the final. They almost won the title last year with Harden.
It's close.
We'll always have that. But yeah, I think this trade allows all of them to be the best versions, or by all of them, Joel and Maxey, to be the best versions of themselves.
Well, I mean, you're talking about the player that they're going to acquire. With that cap space, I don't think Norman Powell should have deterred that. You know, I know you want cap space. They still have 65 million projected.
Well, he makes like 18. So I think the tough thing is they're probably, and look, Maxi's going to cost a ton this year, and I'm not an NBA salary cap expert. I barely have the NFL's. Yeah. Good point. But if you're going to pay Maxi, I think that the 18 million for Powell probably does cut in quite a bit to like a max space. Again, that's just my novice opinion.
No, that's fine.
But so that, look, Morey must know something.
Yeah. Well, right? Listen, believe me, Norman Powell is strictly selfish by me. Like it's not a maker.
We got Morris.
it's not a make or break deal. I mean, as you're talking about the star that you think he's going to acquire or the next star that's going to become available, I mean, this just seems like it's totally aligning to get Siakam, right? I mean,
you think Siakam? Seriously, you think that's the star?
Yeah, he's a free agent after next year or after this year. He obviously has the Nick Nurse connection, and him and Embiid are close. I mean,
Siakam. First of all, Pat Beverly takes every chance he can to say he's not a dog and he's not someone you want on the team. Like I'm just trying
to see what I'm trying to piece this thing together. If he's thinking that he can get a star, I mean, the free agent class next year is not great. I mean, it's not a great free agent class next year. So like, if there's one player that I know will probably be available, it's Siakam, who Embiid gets along with, who Nick Nurse obviously coached and won a title with and won a lot of games with. He's a wing, so you still can let Maxey bring the ball up. Like, he's a name that makes sense. But what is also kind of sticking out to me here, Elliot, is think about everything that has happened, with eyes on 2024. So he is now freeing up a ton of cap space. They have assets. Embiid's playing for Team USA. I mean, we talked a lot. We talked a lot about is he going there to be recruited or is he going there to be a recruiter? I mean, think about the stars that are there. You know, the stars are there.
The money he can, the check that Joel can walk into the Team USA locker room with is going to be a fat one. So some other
Jason Tatum's a Sixer is basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, basically Jason Tatum, Anthony Edwards. These are the people that are going to be on the team as a result of this trade. So here's two players I would keep an eye on for right now. OG Anunoby. The Raptors are not going to be good. There's already speculation out there that he might be moved. You now have the pieces to go acquire him, much like the Pascal Siakam like argument you're making. OG Anunoby checks all those boxes too. Played with Nick Nurse, fits well, nice to Maxey, young player like that. I personally am not like super huge on him, but I do think he's someone that they can go after. But here's the other stuff.
I feel like he's fake good. Like
I agree with you on that. But I think like as the number 3, I don't know. I don't think he's a top 2 player.
He's never done it up there. I mean, if the Raptors are smart, they just try to see what Scotty Barnes is. I mean, Scotty Barnes is slowly taking a big step forward this year.
Right.
So I mean, their whole team is basically 6'8" wings. So
I know. Well, that's what the Sixers are. Granted, all the Sixers wings are like 35 years old at this point. But similar to what Nick Nurse is creating. But here's the other star I would keep an eye out on. And shout out to my friend Kevin, who has been beating this into my head for like a month, and I think he might be right. Donovan Mitchell. He's in Cleveland. There's no way he wants to spend the rest of his career in Cleveland. Cleveland, certified fake good. They're not actually going to accomplish anything. Donovan Mitchell has been to Sixers games. He is perfect next to Tyrese Maxey. I think Donovan Mitchell, like when they trade for a star, it is going to be somebody that none of us expected. It's not going to be like, oh, wow, they actually got Zach LaVine, who I would still do.
Not a star.
Well, he's definitely a star. But Donovan Mitchell could be the guy where out of nowhere he becomes available and the Sixers are able to swoop in right away. So I think Mitchell is someone to look at. OG is someone to look at. Zach LaVine is someone to look at. Pascal Siakam, who I would not be super big on, but I would put him on that list too, I guess. Like those are the guys that they now have the ability to get because they've acquired these picks.
Yeah. Donovan Mitchell, like with Maxey as the primary ball handler now.
Right.
Like I don't totally know how Mitchell kind of works into that. I mean, he can go get it.
Guard, can he?
Yeah, but like he also kind of thrives has the ball in his hands. He's making something happen. Drops it off to Embiid. Like I mean, he can fill it up. And like
he's a proven playoff performer too.
I just don't love him and Maxey kind of together there. So I just think that. I think this totally changes. I think it's a landscape defining trade, Elliot. I mean, not only does it help this year, Harden's off the team, which I think really like I think this team's going to come out like really excited to play on Thursday because I feel like
Thursday's going to be wild. It might be a sellout at this point. It is at home, right? I'm not mistaken about that.
I believe it's at home. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever the next home crowd, I think is going to be like Morey might get a standing ovation. Like if I'm all right before
here we go. What do I have to do now? I got to get a Morey ovation.
Yeah. Well, look. I mean, they're doing it in Arizona now.
Yeah, everyone's trying it. Yeah.
You can just transfer sports, but so before every Eagles game, Howie Roseman walks around the field and coincidentally just walks by a group of fans that are always like, Howie, blah blah blah, and like he interacts with the fans, he takes pictures, whatever. It's his chance to kind of like meet the fans.
Oh, well, I mean, meet the fans is very cute. It's an ego boost is what it is.
Well, 100%. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, like that. It's his chance to like feel that, right? Daryl Morey should feel that on Thursday. Daryl Morey should make sure before the game he just happens to linger out onto the court, like fans see him. Maybe at halftime he walks by, something like that. Because I think. And
has he ever been to a Sixers game real quick? Have you ever seen Daryl Morey at a Sixers game?
I think he just watches on his calculator from the from his office. But
his TI-80 plus.
Exactly. I mean, let's not gloss over this fact though. And like I can see it. I could feel it from when we started texting this morning. I can see it in your face right now. Like fans are going to be just so excited James Harden's off the team. I have friends, you have friends. Our good buddy James Seltzer is one of these people that is saying they were not going to watch the Sixers. Right? Not going to watch the Sixers. Right. Out. Not doing it. Couldn't take almost winning a title last year. But now that Harden's gone, like I think you are going to see people check back into this team. And the people that have not been watching the first few games, we have to decide if from a vibe perspective, we want them back. Just something to consider. But the people that have not watched the first 3 games and now are going to watch from here on out, you're going to see what this team is. Like, you're going to see how good Maxey is. You're going to see how Joel's been playing awesome these first 3 games. Like, I think that this is a move that is going to really get fans back in on the team.
Yeah, well, and it's so funny because obviously you can make the case they're not as good with James Harden.
Of course, but that's not. Yeah, it's not the point of this.
Yeah, I just and I hope they do. Like, listen, I'm not in the camp of like they need a clean slate and start all over, but this is the first time I've like really believed that there's more than just like that there's something different. And I think Nick Nurse is a huge component of that. I think Nick Nurse, as we've seen so far throughout, the first 3 games, possibly a difference-making coach. And now, like, again, the thing that I have thought has just completely sunk this team the last couple of years is that they didn't have enough NBA players. They didn't have enough competent NBA players. And now they just have so many. Yeah. Like Batum. By the way, Batum. There you go.
Batum.
He's been around forever, and he's always been just solid. He's never gonna wow you. He's sort of Toby. He's like an older, bigger Toby, a French version. Isn't he French? Am I wrong about this? I think so. But he's not. He's never gonna really impress you. You just have to hope that he hits a corner 3. Like, that's Nicholas Batum, and he's not gonna kill you. He's not gonna kill you out there. Like, he's gonna be a solid player, but he's not gonna kill you.
He's basically a taller PJ in a lot of ways too. Like, I don't know from a personality perspective, but he'll just stand in the corner, and hopefully his shot isn't as painful to watch as PJ Tucker.
It is not. Yeah. Marcus Morris is someone who they can. I wonder if they start him in the 4 spot, but
so that's what I was gonna ask you. All right, so obviously Harden not starting on Thursday. What would your starting lineup be? Because Maxey's going to start. I think Melton still starts. Obviously Embiid starts. Tobias still starts. Do you move Oubre into the starting lineup? Do you start Covington? I really like Oubre coming off the bench. I would like keep that role for him. I don't think moving him into the starting role is the move right now, although he might be their 3rd best player. Would you put Covington in there? Would you start Batum? Like, what would your lineup be?
So,
I'm writing it down. I like the commitment here to figuring it out.
Yeah, well, I'm just making sure I don't sound like an idiot.
That is the goal of this pod. Yeah.
Yeah. So my starting five would be Maxey, Melton, Toby, Batum, Embiid, so that I can have Morris, I can have Beverly, I can have Oubre. I can have them coming off the bench and just giving me like a real solid bench unit. And then, Batum basically just takes the PJ role, which is stand in the corner, move the basketball, play some solid defense. Don't have to ask you to do too much. And it's even at Toby the three, like Toby's a pretty fine. Like he's never been like cooked by larger wings. So yeah, I'm not in the camp of start Oubre.
Oubre needs off the bench.
He is a strict off the bench guy. But yeah, I'm going Maxey, Melton, Toby, Batum, and Embiid.
All right, so I would go Maxey, Melton, and then I think I would start Covington. I would bring Batum off the bench, obviously Embiid, and then Toby. In terms of the 3-4, like I don't really know or care what the difference is in there in terms of starting. So I would, if you want to start Toby at the 4, whatever. But I think those would be my 2 starting forwards. I like Batum coming off the bench more. I like Morris coming off the bench more. Honestly, you could almost convince me to start Morris and bring Covington and Batum off the bench. But to your point, like whoever the starting 5 is going to be, think about what this bench is right now. Like you're going to have 2 of the 3 of Covington, Batum, and Morris coming off the bench. KJ Martin coming off the bench. Pat Beverly coming off the bench. Oubre coming off the bench. Furkan, if they ever let him play, coming off.
Daniel House.
Yeah, Daniel House. Yeah. Well, the other disappointing part of this.
Jaden Springer.
Jaden Springer. Phillip with an F. Gone, unfortunately. Oh, Paul Reed, the one who,
we're good.
We're out.
No, we're fine.
Yeah.
We're
Mo
all right.
Bamba. So they do have a lot of different options to come off the bench. So it'll be interesting to see what Nick Nurse does. And the other part of this, to your point about how Nick Nurse can be a difference maker, they have a lot of options now. And I think they never had a ton of options with the Doc Rivers roster. Like it wasn't as deep as this, but it didn't matter if they had options because Doc Rivers was just going to play who he was going to play. I think Nick Nurse is going to be willing to try a bunch of different things with this group. And when you have this amount of like options, Nick Nurse it's going to be exciting to see what he does.
Well, and it helps them. It really helps them get through 82 games. You know what I mean? Like Morris, Covington, and Batum, they're essentially the same player. Like Toby's kind of in that mix.
I agree. Yeah.
Like they're all like they're not obviously
they're all
the same.
30 plus. They all kind of are the same size and they all shoot threes. Like they're all kind of those guys. Yeah.
They're all sort of the same player.
Yeah.
But
we don't
like
know
the
what offensive system they'll run with them yet. We're gonna break the
whatever
name of an NBA offensive system would be is.
Yeah. Bucket boy. That's strictly it. That's what they're gonna do. But like, let's say they want to just give Morris a night off, give one of these guys like to keep them as fresh as possible. Like they have a bunch of bodies that can just rotate in and out. And I do wonder. I wonder if we see like if Paul Reed continues to struggle. No
more Paul Reed threes. Now that you have way more 3-point shooters.
Zero. I wonder if they make like Batum the small ball 5, or like they go really small.
I feel like Morris can do it.
Morris could probably do it. I mean, Rocco did.
When they were trying to lose. Yeah.
No. He was a small ball 5 for the Rockets, I believe.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, you're right.
So I mean, Rocco, deflection king. I can't believe he's actually back. Like
it's so funny.
It is.
He has to go back to his original number, right? Does anyone have his number?
33?
33 was his number, but I'm thinking on the Sixers' current roster, I don't know if anyone has it. But.
I don't think 33 is exactly hot in the streets. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's the Andrew Bynum. That's what he had too, right?
I'm so happy Robert Covington is back. He was my favorite Sixer during the process.
Oh, Phillip had 33.
Perfect. That's why they had to, that's why they had to do the trade. They had to do the trade because they had to get Rocco his number. He is so quintessential and brings back such good memories of when Sixers basketball was in its purest form. And I know people listening to this podcast would be like, 1983 or 2001.
Yeah.
Like Andre Miller.
Andre Miller.
Pure Sixers basketball when it was like, look how cute they are, and look how fun. No expectation.
Jack's era of Sixers.
I mean, when they win, it's like bad Sixers. There was nothing better. There was nothing better during the Rocco era of the Sixers, Elliot, than when they would be just close enough and then they lose. They'd play hard. And then Harrison Barnes would make a corner 3, and they would lose to the 73-win Warriors team.
Well,
that's what Rocco represents.
hopefully he represents more than that now as a winner. But
No.
In all seriousness, like there is something poetic about the Sixers' first title coming with the two players that are probably the face of the process, right? Like Embiid has to be obviously the face of it, and who else besides Covington? Like Ben Simmons a little maybe, but I kind of don't think he does.
Nope. 0 for 3. 0 for 3.
Over there, okay.
They have one. No, they have one trade left. They have one trade left. They gotta bring me TJ. They gotta they need a backup point guard. That if you want someone if you need someone that can just run the offense. I mean,
can you imagine if they actually brought back TJ?
Dude, why wouldn't they? I mean, the Pacers sort of stink. I mean, I watched like pretty much their whole game last night. I don't think TJ got in. It's just bring the boy home. Man, Ben Simmons got benched in a playoff series for TJ McConnell. I mean, who could forget that?
He did, man. There's a lot of bad process, man. That wasn't really a process, I guess.
No, that was a legit playoff series, man. TJ McConnell, bring him home. I do want to point out, Elliot, all the things that we have done since we have taken over the reins as the number one Sixers podcast.
Recap how we're fixing the Sixers.
So we got Embiid on Team USA.
We did. That was really on by us too.
That was like broke during a podcast. Daryl Morey listened to the pod and said we got to get James Harden out of here because the two people who are known for holding the Sixers most accountable, you and I.
Yeah. Well, and I've always been big on trading James Harden.
And it's always been something that you believe in.
It's always been my point.
It's always been you got to get whatever you can for him. And overall, we just completely have changed we've completely changed the vibes around the team. I mean, the vibes around the team have completely changed, and I think by having James Harden off the team, having more competent NBA players, having Embiid being able to just like be Joel Embiid again, and letting Tyrese Maxey develop, like I would have rather had this than trade him for a Levine or trade him for a DeRozan. Like they have, dude. Like if you go up and down the roster, I mean, this is their 9 right now. And this is not counting some of the other people that are going to play. But Embiid, Batum, Toby, Melton, Maxey, Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, Pat Bev, and Kelly Oubre. I get it's a legit NBA team. And I just think that
9 in the East.
When you get into these playoff series and you get into these bigger games, and like you always have seen the Sixers kind of turtle up and fail against the Celtics and against the Bucks. Yeah. Well, it's because I always feel like the Bucks and the Celtics, they just had way more dudes. And yeah, their dudes were dudes. Giannis was a dude, and Tatum would be a dude. Even though Tatum, like in that playoff series last year, was weird as well. And Jaylen Brown
had finals too.
Jaylen Brown, I never fully trust. Like the Sixers now have a rotation that is legitimately 9 deep. They are emphasizing what matters the most, which is Maxey and Embiid. And they filled around them a bunch of competent NBA players. And PJ Tucker not being here is a big deal too, because he was a complete zero on offense.
Yes. And yeah, I agree with that. But let's look at this too. So in a lot of ways, the Sixers' biggest opponent is their past playoff failures. Like that's what they carry with them when they go into the playoffs. Think about the team that lost to the Hawks in 7, like the Ben Simmons Pastic game. Tyrese Maxey basically wasn't part of the team. I know he was there, but he wasn't really playing. Melton wasn't part of the team, if I'm not mistaken, right? Patrick Beverley wasn't here. Covington wasn't here. Mo Bamba wasn't here. Oubre wasn't here. Marcus Morris wasn't here. Danny House Jr. wasn't here. Jaden Springer wasn't here. KJ Martin wasn't here. Nicholas Batum wasn't here. Like the roster that had the biggest playoff failure is no longer really here. Like this is a different team that is going to be playing the rest of the season. They're led by Maxey, who wasn't a dominant personality in that playoff series. Yes, Joel is always going to have that with him. Absolutely. Like he is in many ways the face of all this. But the team that we think of as second round losers, the team that we think of that has lost so many times in the playoffs is not this team. Like the roster is 80% different than that roster. And I mean, the head coach is different. Like that alone is a big deal. So I just think that the burden that this team has had to deal with is no longer there because of this trade in a lot of ways. And it will be like, I know they have to get out second round, all those things, blah, blah, blah. But the players that struggled, the players that the fans think of as second round losers, James Harden, not here. Doc Rivers, not here. Ben Simmons, not here. Like a lot of those guys are not here anymore. And I think it's a massive deal heading into look, it feels like the playoffs should start next week. But heading into,
well, they are 2-1. Well, at least we have the NBA Cup. We have the NBA Cup. Thank God.
Right. Well, they're winning the NBA Cup. We already know that.
No, there's only two teams that are really going to win the NBA Cup. It's either the Sixers or LeBron.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, you are absolutely right about that. LeBron is meant to have the Mickey Mouse ring for the Lakers and now the NBA Cup on his resume.
And he's going to say that cements me as the greatest player of all time.
Do you think like when LeBron's inducted to the Hall of Fame, they'll list the NBA Cup among his accomplishments if he wins it?
So, as a LeBron guy, I hope not. I really.
Okay. I really but if it's Joel, I need it listed.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do want to take. I know we kind of touched on this in the beginning, but I've been thinking about it a lot as we've been going on here. Like the team now, I think is in a much better spot. I think the Sixers finally feel healthy, which I've wanted them to be for a little while. I think the Eagles in 2020, they had to get healthy. I mean, not from the standpoint of like player health, but organizationally, they had to get healthy. I didn't think they were that. I know we look at Howie now, we're like, oh, he's the GOAT. Everyone hated Howie. Everyone hated Howie in 2021.
No, not me.
Not you. I know.
I was a lone defender.
You were. And then
James Harden and Howie, two people I went to bat for.
Yeah, you finally got one right. Yeah. But the Eagles as an organization had to get healthy. I thought they were a little dysfunctional. There was a lot of Jeff Lurie stories. There was a lot of he's meddling, he's involved, this, that. The Phillies had to get healthy. The Phillies had Matt Klentak, Andy McPhail, who would just Andy McPhail would just sit in his office and watch Netflix all day. That's all he would do. That's what a hire. But they got rid of him and they brought in Dave Dombrowski and the Phillies are now a healthy organization. Not going to talk about what happened in Game 6 and 7, but they are moving in the right direction.
Yes.
The Sixers now, I feel like this has just completely resetted them. If I'm Embiid, I wake up excited today, and I think the Sixers now, with all this talk of dysfunction and no one wants to be there and everyone's leaving and whatever, this trade, getting out from that, having Nick Nurse here, watching Maxey turn into a star, and really, for as excited as I am about the rest of the season, and seeing them, I think, finally get out of the second round, like I think that's going to happen this year.
I do too.
I am now back in on the future of the Sixers, because now with this trade, it does open up more trade assets, and they have to be playing something with the amount of cap space they freed up. So, like, this is just from a resetting the organization standpoint. They have cap space, they have draft picks, they have Maxey and Embiid, they have a bunch of NBA players. Now we go. And when I thought this thing was going to have maybe like 3 years left, or maybe even 2, like Embiid might ask out after this year.
1, yeah.
This extends that. And I think now it's about the next 5 years of Sixers basketball, which I think is a good thing.
So I'm saying this in all seriousness. I think that's the best point that's been made on the pod today. Like this trade, think about the times where we would look at the Sixers and go, they have no picks, they're in salary cap hell, they're way over the cap, they have a bunch of bad contracts. That's almost over. Like at the end of this season, they will have a ton of picks. They will have a young star in Tyrese Maxey. They have a ton of cap space. So to be able, your point about the Eagles in 2020 is correct. The Eagles had to fall down. I mean, then the Carson thing happened and they traded him and all that. But it took them like probably 2 years to reset things in terms of adding young talent, getting draft picks, finding their quarterback, finding their head coach. The Sixers are going to essentially rebuild and reset while still being a title contender. And things could change. Like, again, it's only 3 games into the season. But your point about them restocking the cupboard is so true. Like, they still have Embiid. They still have Maxey. But now they have the assets to build beyond this year. The window that felt like it was closing now feels like it's as open as it's been in a really long time. Because Ben is in here. Because Toby's about to be off the books. They have a new head coach you can believe in. They have a young star. It's been so long. I mean, when's the last time we felt this way? I guess it would have been when Joel and Ben were like still getting started. Like Ben was drafted number 1. You were excited about Joel.
Well,
they
I mean,
all those assets.
I mean, they were set up pretty cake. I mean,
they were, yeah.
They had 1 million picks. They had 2 max slots. Like, they royally screwed this whole thing up.
But that's kind of where they are now, right? They're going to have a ton of cap space. They have Maxey, who I know is not like a draft pick, but he's worth, I don't know, 3 first-round draft picks. Like, they kind of are where they were at the. They literally have Covington, number 1. So they kind of are where they were at the beginning of the process, except maybe better off. I think that's an interesting question. Like, would you rather be the Sixers now or the Sixers back then? Other than like Joel's age obviously factors into this, but I think they have a better coach. I think they have a better star next to Embiid. They have all these draft picks. They're not as valuable as the draft picks they had before for sure, but they have all the lot draft picks and they have all the cap space. So they're kind of right where they were.
Yeah,
we did it. It only took us 5 pods.
I'm really happy. Like, yeah,
I agree. I can't wait for Thursday night. I can't wait. And I mean, look, it's my birthday, so I get a Thursday night watching the Sixers. How else would you rather spend your birthday?
Your 40th birthday. Yep. Happy birthday,
my 42nd birthday. Thank you.
40th birthday. Yeah, I think today's a great day for the Sixers franchise, and I think it's something that we're gonna look back on as the day that Daryl Morey saved the Sixers. And
there it is.
And I think that, because I have been me personally with Morey, I was so excited when they got him. I thought he was brilliant. I was like, wow, this is gonna change the course of this franchise. And he's just been so like the last couple off seasons, like
mid.
Just no interesting trades. Just bringing in old Rockets, not having really an emotional feel for the basketball team. I just could not believe he was as bad as he was performing. I mean, this might be his Howie trade, where Howie in 2021 was not super well liked. The Rager thing happened. Carson.
But people wanted to pick Carson over Howie.
Since then, Howie has put together a Hall of Fame level resume, and I hope that this is the thing that we now let Morey like freaking cook and turn into the Daryl Morey that was one of the best executives in basketball and one of the most sought after executives in basketball. Like, hopefully now, with all the cap space that he has, the draft assets that he has, now go be Daryl Morey. I think when he got here, he was kind of tied, his hands behind his back. Yeah. Doc was here, Toby was under contract, Ben didn't want to play. Like, he walked into a tough situation. I don't think people, I think they don't talk about enough with him. Mm-hmm. Now that's over. I mean, it's a clean slate at this point.
Well, let me ask you this: how will so the James Harden Ben Simmons trade? Twofold question, because about Morey, you're right. Like, that was so far the defining trade of Morey's career as a Sixer has been the decision to hold on to Ben Simmons and trade him for James Harden. And now this is the next one, right? This is like, if you want to use Eagles terms, like the Ben Simmons James Harden thing, like that was Howie trading for Carson, and that worked out for a little bit. And now we have the next defining trade, which is trading Carson. When you think about that trade and you think about James Harden time with the Sixers, like, how will you remember it? I mean, we're almost 40 minutes in the pod. Like, we barely even talked about James Harden, which is maybe appropriate. But like, how will you remember?
100% appropriate.
How will you remember Harden's time with the Sixers?
Well, I'll remember him completely folding in Game 5 of the Heat series, where he just
that does feel like in some ways the defining moment.
Well, it was like, and then he's doing whole like,
by the way,
when he said the ball never got back to me. It's like, dude, you're the point guard. What are you talking about?
I know.
What are you talking about? I mean, like, I'll never forget Harden on Christmas Day when he had 5 threes against the Knicks. And
I'm guessing you bet that.
And I bet that day. It was a great Christmas.
Put the banner up.
Merry Christmas to me. But yeah, I mean, it's ultimately going to be like, listen, I don't fault him for making that trade. I would have made that trade too. I think we all would have made that trade. You take a shot on James Harden. The DNA is most likely Loserville. But it's James Harden, and it's the best chance for that team to win a title. It just didn't work out. I mean, it didn't work out. And I'm so, one thing that's not being talked about with Morey is like, dude, like, thanks for not signing him to a 2-3-year deal at huge money.
Good point.
Like he doesn't get moved today if he signs that deal, obviously, and I think that would have tanked the franchise. And listen, Daryl Morey completely ruined his relationship with James Harden. I don't think that's going to be patched
you think they
up
can
anytime.
be friends again? I don't know. I was thinking about that this morning. Like he did trade him to the Clippers.
Yeah, I mean he only
missed him
did him a
3
solid.
games. He did him a solid. Like I don't know.
I know. Maybe. He didn't lie to him in this instance.
I just want to see him be friends again. I like friends.
Yeah. Do you think that Morey is going to deliver his Hall of Fame induction? I mean, that would be.
Yeah. Could you imagine? Yeah, that would.
I mean, that seems like a perfect.
We all know that's going to be like PJ or somebody like that.
But like he didn't give him that contract, and he stood by. I think he's a diminished player, and he is. Yeah. He was a diminished player. He's not the same James Harden. And ultimately, like, I'll look back at the James Harden era as a footnote in what turned into the best run in franchise history.
So I will definitely remember the James Harden era like fondly. I know it was disappointing. I know it was disappointing at the end. There was the Miami thing, but let's not overlook the fact James Harden dropped 42 points in Game 1 in Boston and hit a game-winning shot.
Dude, you sound like that. Remember, I know, but hold on. You sound like that Carson Wentz account. They would tweet out, if your quarterback, had a million interceptions and this, that's no Carson Wentz,
right? Yeah,
everyone on the team hates him.
But in all seriousness, like that is what a top 8 like Sixers playoff performance of all time. He then did it again in Game 4. Like it sucks how it ended for sure. And I do believe that he was lied to about something. I do believe him on that. But I'm happy he's gone. Like I'm just happy he's gone. Like there is a
I feel like it has to be freeing for you, right? Like you have to be like a weight has been lifted off your shoulders. You don't have to keep to keep trying to prop up
yes. Like from my personal content perspective, happy to see him go. But in all seriousness, like there is such a freshness to him being gone. The James Harden era had moments, but it was not fun. Last season was a better team than people give him credit for, but it was the definition of waiting for the playoffs. In the playoffs, like the painful playoff games, the feeling in my heart of like everyone being like knowing they were right and I was wrong, like because I bought into the team, right? Like so there's just such a freshness with Harden being gone that I think what I'll remember about Harden is the highs, but the lows were just so painful. They were just so painful. And I think it'll be good for Joel and the fans to like move on from Harden being a face of this team.
Yeah. I'll never forget, obviously, the debut against the Timberwolves where they were just passing the ball all over the place and looked like the Showtime Lakers.
Well, and we know Harden's going to have a great first game with the Clippers, right?
Always. It's all he does. Yeah.
What would you bet the over on? Like 25 plus, like 8 assists? Like he's going to have a first good game. But ultimately, the Clippers will not win anything. The Sixers have a better chance of winning the title than the Clippers do.
Which is a more defining game of the last 5 years of Sixers basketball? Okay. The Game 7 where Ben didn't dunk, or Game 6 where they completely folded against the Celtics?
So I'll be completely honest. Like Game 6 against the Celtics hurt way more. Like I will when I'm like 50. So in I don't know, like 2 years. Like I will be remembering the pain of like being in the stadium for that one more than I'll remember the Ben one. I think I laughed at the Ben one. I was like, of course he did that. Like, of course he did that. Well, and I think by the time the Ben thing happened, it just was like they had blown so many leads. Like it just felt like this is happening. I feel like with Game 6, I believed up until like the very end. And so it was more painful. I thought walking into the stadium that day, this is going to happen. I remember like with 5 or 6 minutes to go being like, I can't believe me and my friends are going to get to celebrate this. But like the Ben thing, I do believe will be viewed in Sixers, like the Pantheon, like it will be viewed as a bigger deal, I think, just because the play itself is so defining, where with the Sixers, it's more of a total loss. And I think people will remember Game 7 more than Game 6.
Well, Game 7, Bryce Harper is fighting the Rockies in the middle of Game 7. So
that's what you remember. Yeah, Bryce Harper, Flyers guy, by the way.
I saw that. Yeah. Would have preferred them playing in Game 3 of the World Series last night, but at least he's at the hockey game.
Yeah, we'll talk about two juxtapositions. They're either going to be playing in Game 3 of the World Series or watching a Flyers game.
Excited to be here. All right.
And with that, Jack needs to go back to sleep.
No, I'm all good. I'm up. We're gonna have a great Halloween with Walk.
Yeah, that's right. And you gotta dress him up as like. Do you pivot on the costume? Like, is there a bit to be had here? Do you dress him up as like Daryl Morey? Do you dress him up as Covington? Like the ghost of James Harden? Like, come on, let's get creative here.
Well, he's 7 months, so he's very, very small. So I don't know if we can.
But he also has no idea what's happening, so you don't have to fight back on him like wanting to change his costume.
Well, how about this? Well, he is going as a popcorn bowl. So we were putting popcorn on his on a little beanie last night.
It's gonna be very good.
To put on his head. But we could also spin that as get your popcorn ready. The Sixers.
There you go. There you go. Here's what you do. Ready? And Jill will not let you do this, and I completely understand. You should write down like 2026 Oklahoma City first round pick on his little onesie. He can be.
Well, hey, the last time they got a first round pick from the OKC Thunder turned into Tyrese Maxey. Shout out to Mike Muscala.
There you go.
Just saying. All right, Elliot. Put a bow on this one for all the people out there.
Yeah, I think today is a day Sixers fans should be really, really excited about. I can't wait for Thursday night. I'm excited that Tyrese Maxey gets to keep being Tyrese Maxey. There will be lots of talk about the assets, the players they got back, Joel, all that. This is about Tyrese. Tyrese Maxey is going to be a superstar. He has played like a superstar. He is the superstar that they wanted to trade for to get with Embiid. I'm excited this trade happened. All I wanted all along when I defended Harden, when I defended the Sixers, is I wanted people, and it's because I felt this way, to realize they are title contenders. And I think now with this roster, they are title contenders. And I hope that people jump in and see that. And it's a good day for the Sixers franchise. I think the way you put it is so true. This is a reset for this team. They have picks, they have stars, they have cap space. They go to once again being one of the teams in the league that everybody else wants to be. Daryl Morey was correct. There are a lot of teams that would trade situations with the Sixers, and I think that's even more so true now. So great day for the Sixers.
So, full disclosure, I just saw the report that Furkan requested to be in the trade, and both teams said no.
That might be fake, but that is an amazing tweet. That is an amazing tweet. Poor guy can't get traded.
He just is stuck here, man.
Yeah,
he is absolutely stuck here. It's a. I think today is going to be the day that we look back on, 5 years from now, and we say the day that the course of the franchise changed. They went from Loserville, USA to finally getting this thing right and being put together. And even if they don't win the title this year, I think they're going to get out of the second round, and we'll see what happens. I trust this team way more than I've liked them in years past.
Trust the Sixers?
Always. They're going to get another star next to Maxey and Embiid. They have cap space. They have draft picks. It's a massive, massive win for Daryl Morey, and I'm proud of him. I mean, he could have held on to him. He could have, but he finally showed emotional intelligence and said, "This team has something. Let's let them cook." And I'm proud of Daryl Morey for that. So
should we big end day for the episode with a clap as well?
Well, we will. Real quick, we'll be back Thursday post game after what I'm sure is going to be a big Sixers win, and it's going to be just put the past in the past and believe in the Sixers again.
Sixers stuff's in the past. We're here now. It's time for the future. It's time for the parade.
Roko's back. Roko's back. Have a great day. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you Thursday after the game. This has been Clap Your Hands.
All right, peace out, everybody.